Evgeny Malkin gets closer to 500 goals in his career. Sidney Crosby, 1 point away from 1,600 in his career point. Both of these men could join a really good squad. But how did Gino get goal number 499? We're going to find out right now on this Canadian Thanksgiving edition of Penguins Postgame. My name is Scott, and this is Penguins Postgame, and it begins now. You're locked in to Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, Showtaste scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins Postgame. PPG for PGH. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. What's going on, Pens Nation? What's going on, everybody here in Pittsburgh? What's going on, our Buffalo Bills fans? We're going to get to Bills postgame on another episode of Sports for Beginners, but this is the premiere of Double Trouble for 2024. I am your host, Scott McGregor. Welcome to Penguins postgame. If you're tuning in as a Buffalo Bills fan, or a New York Jets fan, or you're tuning in as a Pittsburgh Penguin fan, or a Montreal Canadiens fan. Of course, we are recording this the day after the game, which was on Monday, October 14th, 2024. The Canadian Thanksgiving holiday. Happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate it for Canada's Thanksgiving. And happy Thanksgiving to our American listeners as we inch closer to Thanksgiving in America. So happy Thanksgiving to all. We've got a game to get to here, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right down to business with our venue, which was Bell Center. That was the Bell Center tonight. And of course, game time was 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central, 4:30 Pacific, and 12:30 in the UK. That's also, by the way, that's 12:30 a.m. in the UK, and 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Central, and 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's also 1:30 p.m., 1:30 a.m., in France time. The venue was the Bell Center, or Center Bell, and our head coaches, Martin St. Louis for the Montreal Canadiens, and Mike Sullivan for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Before we get down to the starting goaltenders and some scratches before we get into our period-by-period summary, which will be after our first break of the program, I want to give a shout-out to our host of Penguins pre-show. That's right, we brought back Penguins pre-show as Thomas, host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, brought back the Penguins pre-show. So thank you so much, Thomas, for bringing that back. If you missed my 3 keys to victory, please go back and check out the show. I'll have a link in the description of this episode if I'm able to put it in there. If not, I'll have a link in the description of the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Pittsburgh Penguins in that game, because we'll have another Penguins pre-show right before that game goes on. With that being said, thank you so much to Thomas, our host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and of course, Dolphins post-game here on Sports for Beginners, as well as other hosts of many different programs on his pod as well. All right, let's get into it. As I said before, the head coaches for Pittsburgh and Montreal, Martin St. Louis for Montreal, and Mike Sullivan for the Penguins. The Penguins go back to number 35, Tristan Jarry. Jarry back in the starter position after quite the rough night in Pittsburgh against the Rangers, and Joel Blomqvist backing him up. Joel Blomqvist backs him up. That's number 30. The Montreal Canadiens follow the same kind of suit, only Joel Blomqvist is backing up Tristan Jarry, who is number 35, and he is number 30 for the Penguins. For the Montreal Canadiens, they would go with number 35, Sam Montembeault, and backing him up would be number 30, Caden Premiel, Caden P. Backing it up. And with that all being said, those are the starting goaltenders. Those are the guys that went between the pipe. We'll take a break in just a second. But before we do, who did not dress in this game? Well, out for the Penguins, and I noted this down via NHL's app when I went to the roster report. Out for the Penguins for this game, number 2, Rutger McGroarty. Number 3, Jack St. Ivany. And number 48, Valtteri Pustinen. All right. As for the Montreal Canadiens, it was number 47, Jaden Struble, and number 55, Michael Pezzetta. All right. We'll take a break. When we come back, we get into it. Pens and the Habs continues on Penguins postgame. Right after this, the period-by-period summary via scoring and penalties coming up next on Penguins postgame. Penguins and Habs, which is the short form for the Montreal Canadiens. It's the Penguins and the Canadiens. The period-by-period summary is coming up next, so stick with us. We'll be right back.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Welcome back to Penguins Postgame here. My name is Scott McGregor. It's the first of Double Trouble as we roll on with Double Trouble. Our Bills postgame show, Bills and the Jets, coming up in just a little bit. But first, we continue on with Penguins postgame on the ice. And again, happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners and happy Thanksgiving to our American listeners as we get closer to American Thanksgiving. This is the segment where we are talking about the game. We talk about the game from the period of the first period to the second period to the third period, all in penalties and scoring. We're going to start with the scoring for the Montreal game. And here's how it all goes down. In timestamps, we will do it via how it all goes down scoring-wise and penalty-wise. So let's get to it. As mentioned, the only milestone that is a very close one right now at this time is Sidney Crosby going for 1,600 points. He was hoping to do it last night in Montreal, did not do so. Well, you know what? That's okay. One of the players that was a goal away from a milestone was Evgeny Malkin, who scored goal number 499 for his career and his first goal of the 2024-2025 season. We'll talk about it all during this section of the program, which is our scoring. So let's get to it, shall we? And if we do take a break, we'll get to the penalties on the other side. If we don't, we will take a break after we've done the whole thing. But there will be a timestamp right at the penalties segment. So, with that all being said, let's get to it, shall we? I think we shall. Lars Eller opens the game with his first goal of the season. One of his first of 2 goals he had in this game. Assisted by number 18, Jesse Puljujarvi, who is back in the lineup. And by number 28, Marcus Pettersson. Jesse Puljujarvi and Marcus Pettersson, both second assists of the season for them. First of the night. Time of the goal as the Penguins take an early lead at 6 minutes and 54 seconds in. The Penguins take the early lead. And it's 1-0 Pittsburgh. Penguins goal, their second goal of the game, which makes it 2-0 Pittsburgh, goes to number 67, Rickard Rakell. His second goal of the season, first of the night. And it's assisted by number 71, Evgeny Malkin. His 5th assist already of the season, first of the night. Michael Bunting in on the assist as well. And that's that's his first assist of the season. So Malkin already has 5 assists on the season, at least around the first period. Did he get another assist? We're going to find out in just a moment. But one thing we do know for sure is that he got one he did get one in the first period. Time of the goal for the Rickard Rakell goal at 16 minutes and 49 seconds. That's now Malkin's 4th game played. Oh, and guess what? He picks up a couple of points here. Last time we talked to you on Penguins postgame, Evgeny Malkin reached the milestone of 1,300 career points for his career. Now he's got 1,303 points for his career, as he's got now 7 points already this season. All right. Way to go, Evgeny Malkin. Way to go, Evgeny Malkin. Way to go. Way to go, Gino. Way to go, boys. Anyways, moving along in the first period as well, the Canadiens are down by 2, but they quickly go down by 1 on the goal by number 21, Caden Gooley, Caden G. His first as a Montreal Canadien, first goal of the season. And Mike Matheson on the assist, a former Penguin. His second assist of the season. First of the day. First of the night. Nick Suzuki. Second assist of the season for him. Number 14. He also is on the assist of the Caden Gooley goal. His first of the season. It's 2-1 Penguins after 20 minutes. Time of the goal, 18 minutes, 18 seconds. Penguins up 2-1 after 1. After 20, the Penguins up 2-1 on the strength of the goals from Lars Eller and Rickard Rakell. Bit of a different story here as the Penguins open the second period with a power play. We'll get to the penalties in just a moment and how that happens. But speaking of the power play, the Montreal Canadiens do score on the power play as the Penguins get caught. And just about 2 minutes and 51 seconds in, J.S. Yuri Slafkovsky, I'll just say J.S. Number 20, J.S. scores a PPG for MTL. It's his first goal of the season, assisted by Nick Suzuki, second assist of the night and third of the season, and by Mike Matheson, third of the season, second of the evening. So both Mike Matheson and Nick Suzuki picking up assists on goals by Caden Gooley and J.S. And just like that, this one's tied after the power play goal by J.S. But not for long. Emil Heineman, number 51 of the Montreal Canadiens, gives the Canadiens their first lead for the moment. It's a 1-goal lead for the Canadiens. Emil Heineman, his second goal of the season, unassisted, time of the goal, 14 minutes, 26 seconds. Time of the JS goal, the power play goal, 2 minutes and 51 seconds. 2 minutes and 51 seconds. And of course, would you think Lars Eller was not going to score again? He is on hat trick watch as we enter the third period. But before we enter the third period, he quickly ties things up. So the Penguins were leading by 1 at the end of 20. At the end of 40, we're all square at 3 goals apiece. Lars Eller, his second goal of the season and second goal of the night, unassisted. Time of the goal, 16 minutes, 23 seconds. A couple of penalties to speak of there, but we'll talk about that over the course of our penalties in a couple of moments, or in a few minutes, rather. Go to the third period after 40. It's the Penguins 3 and the Canadiens 3. And Kevin Hayes gives Pittsburgh back the lead. It's now 4-3 Pens. His second goal as a Penguin. Second goal of the season. Assisted by number 55, Noel Acciari. His first assist of the season. Erik Karlsson on the assist, EK65, his second assist of the season. Time of the goal, 7 minutes, 47 seconds. The Penguins back out in front. 4-3 Pens over the Habs. And the Pens weren't done there. Later in the period, Kris Letang. Second goal of the season for Christopher Letang. Sixth assist of the season for Evgeny Malkin. His second assist of the evening. After the assist on the Rickard Rakell goal. And Matt Grzelcyk, speaking of which, he has 2 assists on the night. His first and his second assist of the night. As he now has his first 2 points as a member of the Penguins. Both are assists on the Kris Letang goal at 11 minutes and 32 seconds in, which makes it 5-3 Pens over the Habs. Penguins go up 6-3 as the Canadiens pull Sam Montembeault. And just like that, Evgeny Malkin, after Tristan Jarry making some big saves. Tristan Jarry was making some big saves in that third period. With 18:50, pretty much not, with almost like 2 minutes left on the clock. 2 minutes and like 50 seconds left on the clock or so. Or maybe 10 seconds left on the clock or so. It's at 18:50 is when the goal is scored. 18:50 when the goal is scored by Evgeny Malkin. This is also Malkin's only goal of the game. His first of the season. And guess what? It's 499 of his career. So that means he's one shy of 500, and he could do so when the Pens play the Sabres in Pittsburgh on Wednesday. That's tomorrow as of the time of our recording, which is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. It's an empty net goal for the Pens, and it's 6-3 Pens. Or, in the words of Phil Borg, it's 6-3 good guys. Matt Grzelcyk, second assist of the night, second assist of the season. Again, time of the goal, 18 minutes, 50 seconds. The empty net goal, Malkin's 499th goal of his season, as the Penguins rally past the Canadiens to win for the second straight time this season by a final score of 6-3. They defeated the Detroit Red Wings earlier this season, I should say, by that same score. That was in Detroit. After they fell 6-0 to the New York Rangers at home on their opening night, Wednesday night, October 9th, 2024. They also fell to Toronto, in Toronto, 4-2 on October 12th. Now they've got 2 in Pittsburgh between Buffalo and then Carolina. And then they've got 4 games against Canadian teams, including a trio of games that are late night. More on that a little later in the program. All right. We're about 14 minutes now, 15 minutes into the segment. So we are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll get into the game penalties. 3 stars of the game, plus the shake of the game, and more. You'll even get some of my thoughts on the hockey game. All this when Penguins postgame continues. We will be right back, so don't you dare go anywhere, because Double Trouble is underway and wraps up with Bills postgame. But first, we got to wrap up Penguins postgame, Pens and Canadiens. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Penguins 6, Canadiens 3 seem familiar? Yeah, it kind of seems familiar because first of all, as I said earlier, the Penguins beat the Red Wings 6-3 just last Thursday night before they went to Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs, and they lost that game 4-2. They also lost their opener to the New York Rangers 6-0. Well, the bright side is they beat Montreal on Canadian Thanksgiving, and the premiere of Monday Night Hockey on Prime. They will not be on Prime Video, I think, the rest of the season, but I'll double check that by looking at a couple of their games within Monday's schedule, but just keeping it to the October schedule for now. As I said, upcoming, and we'll continue to monitor this as we roll on with Penguin postgame. But just quickly here, the next 4 games the Penguins will be playing will include the start of a trio of late night games beginning on Tuesday, October 22nd, when they face the Calgary Flames. They'll face the Winnipeg Jets before then, and that will be when we have another double trouble because the Bills will be taking on the Titans. And we'll talk about how that's going to work out at the end of the program when we get you ready for the Buffalo Sabres and the Pittsburgh Penguins here on Penguins postgame. On Bills postgame, we will be getting you ready for the Bills and the Titans, and we'll continue to talk about how Double Trouble is going to work on that Sunday, which is this Sunday, October 20th, 2024. We'll talk all about that a little bit later. And the upcoming home games for the Penguins before they head to Winnipeg, then Calgary, then Edmonton, and then Vancouver is 2 against Buffalo and Carolina, 1 each. They'll play again on Wednesday night. Then they'll play on Friday night. That will be another Penguins pre-show brought to us from our friend Thomas McGregor. He will be in the studio to bring us another Penguins pre-show. I will be bringing you the action for Penguins pre-show on our episode edition, where we get you ready for the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Game time at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on that Friday. And with all that being said, in the last segment, we went over the scoring that led to the Penguins' 6-3 win over the Montreal Canadiens. Let's talk about the penalties right now to see what also led to the win. So, first and foremost, the Penguins do win this game 6-3, but this game did see a little bit of penalties, and we start with Canadiens number 40, Joel Armia, getting called 2 minutes for roughing. Time of the penalty, 18 minutes, 19 seconds. So very, very, very great first period in terms of penalties for both Montreal and Pittsburgh. But Montreal getting caught late in the first period for a 2-minute minor for roughing. And that would be all she wrote in the first period. Have some breaking news to break to you in just a second. We're going to do that in just a second before we get to the 3 stars of the game. No introduction for this season, but we will bring that back probably next season. We'll see. Anyways, continuing on with our penalty summary. After 20, as you know, it was Penguins 2, Montreal 1. Penguins, as I said, they got a penalty. This one at 2 minutes into the second period. And it's a 2-minute minor to number 27, Ryan Graves. 2-minute minor for slashing to open the second period penalty summary. Jesse Puljujarvi, number 18 of the Penguins, also receiving at the same time number 21 of the Montreal Canadiens, Caden Gooley, who received 2 minutes for roughing against Jesse Puljujarvi. Time of the penalties were 11 minutes and 28 seconds. Penguins, Jesse Puljujarvi, number 18, 2 minutes for boarding. So, boarding for Jesse Puljujarvi, which brings another Montreal Canadian power play. But actually, that is actually going to be 4-on-4. So we'll play 4-on-4 as Caden Gooley is called for roughing. And Jesse Puljujarvi called for boarding, both at 11 minutes and 28 seconds. At 2 minutes into the second period, Ryan Graves goes for slashing. Power play for the Montreal Canadiens. They score on the power play. And as a result, that is the only power play goal scored in this game. The only power play goal scored in this game is that is the goal that happened on the Ryan Graves slashing minor. So Jesse Puljujarvi and Caden Gooley wrap up our second period penalties. Into our third period penalties, and we apologize for all that stops that we've had there. But you know what? That's okay. We're running as best as we can. As I said, we're going into Bill's post game right after this show is over. But we will not get you ready for the Jets and the Bills because the game has already gone final. The one thing I do want to say before we get to the third period penalty, the only penalty that was called in the third period, I just want to say to Bill's Mafia, as we await Bills post-game. Happy Victory Tuesday to you. What a close one on Monday Night Football. Happy Victory Tuesday to you, Bills Mafia. We'll break it all down on Bills post-game in a couple of moments when we're done here on the ice with Penguins post-game. So with that being said, after 40, as we already know, it was all knotted up at even Steven. It was 3-3, Penguins 3, Canadiens 3. Heading into the end of the game at 3 3 apiece. Canadiens and Penguins all tied up at 3-3 apiece. Of course, the Penguins get 3 goals in that third period to win it 6-3. But once again, the Penguins called on penalties. This one going to the guy who's already got 2 goals to his name in this game. And it goes to none other than Lars Eller. A 2-minute minor for interference against Josh Anderson. And the Penguins will go to a penalty. Go to the penalty kill. They'll go to the penalty kill once again for the second time in the game because, as I said earlier, we played 4-on-4 hockey after the Jesse Puljujarvi penalty, along with the Caden Gooley penalty at 11 minutes and 28 seconds into the second period. So Montreal going a perfect 1-for-1 on the power play, on the penalty kill, Pittsburgh 0-for-1 on the power play in this game, but they still win 6-3, which is good. Not really good with their power play, but their penalty kill kills off one of the 2 penalties they took in this game. We'll get into the game stat on the other side of a quick commercial break. But before we get to that break, as promised, our shake of the game is going to follow after the game stats. But as promised, it's time now for the 3 stars of the game. So let's get to it. And if you are not pleased with how the 3 stars have shaken up, please send us an email at sportsforbegинnerspodcast8231@gmail.com or head on over to the Discord server, Penguins Postgame Show Interactions. Do that with Bill's Postgame Show Interactions as well. Not necessarily for the 3 stars, but for things like the game ball of the game and other things of that nature. With that being said, here are the 3 stars of the game. And the 3 stars of the game last night. Your 3rd star is number 8, left defenseman Mike Matheson. 2 assists, 2 points in the game. No goals. So 2 apples, 2 points, no goals. In this game, no apples for Lars Eller in this game. 2 goals, 2 points. He is your 2nd star at number 20. And your 1st star, very deserving considering you're 1 goal shy, Evgeny Malkin, of 500 goals for your career. And you could do so tomorrow night when the Penguins play the Sabres, or when they play the Hurricanes on Friday night. You could do so. Same thing for Sidney Crosby. He only needs 1 point to make it 1,600 points in his NHL career. 1 point for Sid will make it 1,600 points for his career. 1 point. That's all Sid needs to reach the milestone of 1,600 points in his NHL career. Can Gino and Sid do it? We'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, Gino is your first star with 3 points in the game, a goal, and 2 apples. Equipping for his career, a point total of 1,303 points for his career. So that's 1,303 points for Evgeny Malkin on his career. And you know what? When you look at it, Malkin might be getting closer to the milestone that Sidney Crosby has hit. We will see. We will see. So once again, your 3 stars, Evgeny Malkin, Lars Eller, and Mike Matheson. If you are displeased with how those 3 stars have shaken up, let me know by email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. If you like those 3 stars, you can also let me know on the Discord server, even if you are displeased with the 3 stars of the game that I just read to you. I'll reiterate them again. Evgeny Malkin, Lars Eller, and Mike Matheson. If you're displeased with those options, let me know on the Discord server under Penguins Post-Game Show Interactions. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on the Facebook page. Let me know by sending me an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, news surrounding the PWHL, plus more on Penguins postgame. As it appears we have an announcement from the PWHL. We'll do that. The shake of the game pucks of the game. What else went down elsewhere in the NHL on a Monday night for Canadian Thanksgiving? We will do it all when Penguins postgame continues on Sports for Beginners. You're listening to Double Trouble, and you're listening to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on Sports for Beginners. Penguins postgame. We'll be back right after this. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. The Pittsburgh Penguins defeat the Montreal Canadiens 6-3. Game stats, including the shots on goal, coming up in this segment. We haven't done that yet. Also, coming up, we're going to do the shake of the game. And time permitting, maybe we'll take one final break and get to previewing Sabres versus Penguins, which is Wednesday night at PPG Paints Arena in downtown Pittsburgh. We'll get into that in our final segment of the show, but we want to do the shake of the game here, as well as our game stats, which we'll get to in just a moment. But as I mentioned off the top of that last break, we have some news to break. We're not going to break all the news down for you. I'm not going to break down all the news for you. But I want to tell you that we have a season date for the second season of the Professional Women's Hockey League. Today, as of our recording of this podcast, the PWHL has unveiled their 2024-2025 regular season schedule. A regular season that will consist of 90 games. Each team to play an expanded 30-game schedule. And the regular season will consist of 90 games beginning on November 30th at the end of the month of November. That's next month at the end of November on Saturday. It gets going Saturday, November 30th, 2024. Couple of key things to note. The home openers for the newly acquired branded teams in the Montreal Victoire, the Toronto Scepters, Minnesota Frost, Ottawa Charge, Boston Fleet, and New York Sirens. For the Montreal Victoire and the Toronto Scepters, their home openers will be played one after the other, as the Boston Fleet are in Toronto to kick off the new season, as they will play the Scepters at Coca-Cola Coliseum at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central Time, and whatever we could say Pacific, but 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central Time. At 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central, it's the Charge at Montreal Victoire. Montreal Victoire taking on the Charge of Ottawa. The Ottawa Charge face off against the Montreal Victoire at Place Bell Arena moments after Toronto Scepters host the Boston Fleet at Coca-Cola Coliseum on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. The Victoire will come up at 5 p.m. Eastern, as they will play the Charge on Sunday, December 1st, 2024. 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. It's the New York Sirens at XL Energy Center against the Minnesota Frost. The Ottawa Charge will battle the Toronto Scepters in their home opener, which will be the first round 2 of Women's Battle of Ontario, the second season, first chapter of the Ottawa-Toronto rivalry in Women's Hockey Edition for the PWHL between the Ottawa Charge and the Toronto Scepters is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Eastern at the Arena at TD Place. The Boston Fleet will play their home opener Wednesday, December 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time against the Minnesota Frost at the Tsonga Center at UMass Lowell. And the New York Sirens, they'll have their home opener at the Prudential Center when they face off against the Toronto Scepters. Game time for Boston and New York's home openers in December, as well as Ottawa's home opener. 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. And for Minnesota's timeline, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central for Ottawa and Montreal Victoire in November on the Saturday. And 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, Boston Fleet versus Toronto Senators. All right, so there we go. The home openers of Toronto and Montreal, Minnesota, Ottawa, Boston, and New York. By the way, that home opener for Boston will feature a Walter Cup rematch. So be sure to check it out on Wednesday, December the 4th, when the Frost play the Fleet for the first time since the 2024 PWHL Finals. It's a rematch at the Tsonga Center, the site of where Minnesota made history in Game 5 of the series, winning the inaugural Walter Cup on May 29th, 2024. We love some holiday games, don't we? We love some holiday games, don't we? Of course we do. We'll talk more about that on another episode of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, but we got a little bit more to get to here on Penguins postgame. So we went a little long with our PWHL news, but listen, that means that starting in late November, the PWHL recap show on Sports for Beginners is back on the air. That's right. We are back on the air with PWHL recap. The same thing we did for the inaugural season, we're going to do for season 2. We're back with select teams, including the Boston Fleet, Toronto Senators, the Ottawa Charge, the Montreal Victoire, Minnesota Frost, and the New York Sirens. We will be back with select games for you on PWHL Recap. It all starts late this November in 2024 and rolls on throughout the course of the season in 2025. I'm super excited for that, but I can't get too excited because we still got a lot to do here on Penguins postgame. So with that being said, we got the news, we broke the news. Penguins and Canadiens are the topic of this game. We got to get to our topic of Penguins and Sabres, but we still have some things to do before we get there. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the shake of the game introduction, which will kickstart this portion of our segment. Oh, I'm forgetting. Before we get to the shake of the game, we got to get to how the game went down stat-wise. Well, you know what? As I bring up the shake of the game introduction, we will get to it. We are now 10 minutes into the segment, so let's just keep the train rolling and get down to the game stats. Shots on goal by period, 11 for the Penguins in the first period, 6 shots on goal for the Canadiens in the first period. In the second period, the Canadiens win that period 12-10. They had 12 shots on goal in the second period. The Penguins 10 shots on goal in the second period. The Penguins, though, outshoot the Montreal Canadiens 31 28-27 as they finished in the third period with 10 shots on goal. 9 shots on goal for the Montreal Canadiens. And once again, our final total, Penguins 31 shots on goal, Montreal 27 shots on goal. In the face-off percentage, out of 48 face-offs, the Penguins, really impressive performance in the face-off dot tonight on a Monday night. Of course, we are recording this on a Tuesday afternoon. So thank you for joining us here. We'll also be recording Monday Night Football's game on a Tuesday here today. So be sure you stick around for that. This show, of course, Penguins post-game, coming your way after Penguins pre-show with Thomas McGregor. So be sure you stick around for when all these shows are posted. And with that being said, Penguins winning 31 of 48 face-offs. They are 64.6% good in the face-off dot on Monday night. On Monday night, the Montreal Canadiens winning 17 of the 48 face-offs for 35.4% of goodness from the face-off dot. They were 50% good from the power play. The Penguins 0%. They went 0 for 1 on the power play at the end of the night. The Montreal Canadiens 1 for 2 at the end of the night on the power play for 50% good. They, however, perfect on the penalty kill. They're 1 for 1 on the penalty kill. They are 1 for 2 on the power play. The Penguins, 50% good on the penalty kill. 1 for 2. They spent 6 minutes in the penalty box. Finished the game with 23 hits, 15 block shots, 23 giveaways, and 9 takeaways. The Montreal Canadiens finishing the game with 4 hits, 27 hits, I should say, 4 minutes in the penalty box, 27 hits, and 22 blocked shots. They also finished with 8 giveaways and 6 takeaways. So not too shabby of the stats there. Penguins win it 6-3 ultimately. And you know what? We are at 13 minutes on our way into 14 minutes into the segment. So what we're going to do, now that we've done the game stats, we are, due to time constraints, we are going to move on to the shake of the game. But we are going to make sure that we only give a pick-me-up to the Montreal Canadiens and a pick-me-up, or rather a shake of the game, to one of the Penguins players. We will give one shake of the game to each player, one from a side. So 2 players, 1 from each side, is going to get a shake of the game. And we're going to do that right after this drop from our shake of the game. Now it's time for the shake of the game, where we find out who stood out in tonight's hockey game. So let's find out who stood out in this one and who just might need a little pick-me-up. Who just might need a little pick-me-up? Well, I could think of a few players who might need a little pick-me-up, but we're going to stick to the goal here of getting you 1 player with a pick-me-up and 1 player with a shake of the game. Let's start with a shake of the game. And the shake of the game, of course, inspired by Jake Gensel's shake of the game ad at the Milkshake Factory, the official milkshake of the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was inspired by that. Hopefully we can get the Milkshake Factory to sponsor this segment, which is now offering half-off shakes with Brian Rust in as your shake of the game. So remember, every time Brian Rust scores, you get half off Rusty's shake the day after the game. And per the announcement by the Milkshake Factory, the Penguins were giving away, I should say the Milkshake Factory was giving away, half off shakes to celebrate the Penguins' home opener, which was a bit of a somber note for the Penguins as they fell in that game to the New York Rangers 6-0. Today, we're recapping a Penguins win. Who knows what tomorrow is going to bring? All I know is that we're going to get to that before the program is up. We're probably about 1 hour of a program now, but we will see. We are now about 16 minutes into this segment. We are actually now about 17 minutes into this segment, to be honest. But anyways, we move on with the shake of the game. And tonight, I should say today, because we're recording this on a Tuesday. Anyways, the game was on a Monday night, but we're recording it on Tuesday, so today's shake of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins is going to go to number 71, Evgeny Malkin. It's going to go to Evgeny Malkin for me. That's our shake of the game for the Penguins and the Canadiens. Meanwhile, for the Montreal Canadiens, we are going to give a pick-me-up to Canadiens goaltender Sam Montembeault, who I thought played really, really well. I thought Montembeault played really, really well. Even though he was pulled late in this game. I thought, even though he played really, really well in this game, okay, he gave up 5 goals, all even strength goals. He gave up 5 goals, all even strength. He didn't give up a power play goal, which is good. Otherwise, this could have ended up being 7-3 Pittsburgh. But regardless, I wouldn't have thought if it was a 4-point lead, I wouldn't think Martin St. Louis would be dumb enough to pull Sam Montembeault if it was 7-3 at this point in time. I don't think he would be dumb enough to do that. I really don't think he would be dumb enough to do that. Nor do I think he would have even gone ahead and done it. Save percentage for Sam Montembeault is .833. He played 57 minutes and 18 seconds on the ice. Gave up 5 even strength goals against. And he made 25 saves on 30 shots that he faced. Because remember, that 31 shot was a goal, but he was not in net. And that shot belonged to Evgeny Malkin. So Evgeny Malkin and Sam Montembeault. Evgeny Malkin with the shake of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And for the Montreal Canadiens, Sam Montembeault with the shake of the game, pick-me-up of the game for Montreal. What's next for Montreal? What's next for the Penguins? We'll preview Buffalo at Pittsburgh when we return to wrap up the program and get you out to Bills postgame, which, if you are a Bills or a Jets fan, stay with me because I'll be back with you for Bills postgame, Bills and Jets. from Monday Night Football in MetLife Stadium. We break down that game when this one goes final. And we're back to wrap it up on Penguins postgame, our fourth game of the 2024-2025 season that we are recapping here. We'll be back to wrap it up with game pucks of the game, the play of the game, and previewing Sabres versus Pens. Off the jump, we will get into the next five for the Penguins and the next five for the Montreal Canadiens. It all happens next when we continue on Penguins postgame. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. The Montreal Canadiens fall 6-3 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and now 4 games in the books for the Canadiens and the Penguins. Well, the Montreal Canadiens 3-game homestand comes to a close on Thursday night when they will take on the Los Angeles Kings. They'll be back for a 2-game homestand at the Bell Center in next week when they will play the Rangers and the Blues. Before that, they will play in Long Island against the New York Islanders. They'll play the New York Rangers on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. Then they'll play the St. Louis Blues next Saturday night on October 26th, 2024. They'll play the St. Louis Blues from the Bell Center. That's part of a back-to-back that will feature a road trip to Philadelphia, where they will take on the Philadelphia Flyers in Philadelphia at Wells Fargo Center on Sunday, October 27th, 2024. Then the Seattle Kraken are in town on October 29th, 2024 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. They'll wrap up October on Halloween night as they take on Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals at 7 p.m. Eastern. The next 5, however, are the Kings on Thursday night, the Islanders this Saturday night, the Rangers Tuesday, the Blues Saturday, the Philadelphia Flyers Sunday. That's 1. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And add in the 6th there, that is home to Seattle on Tuesday, October 29, 2024. The next 6 for the Penguins, including their next 5. A pair of games at PPG Paints Arena, including the game we will be coming live to you with this Wednesday night, tomorrow night, in PPG Paints Arena as the Penguins battle the Sabres. They are 2-2, so are the Montreal Canadiens. the Montreal Canadiens will face a team in the Los Angeles Kings, who are, wait for it, coming into this game, the Los Angeles Kings are 1-0-2, 1-0-2. The Montreal Canadiens, just like the Pittsburgh Penguins, are 2-2-0 or 2-2-0. Pittsburgh, meanwhile, is coming into their game at a record of 2-2-0. They will face off against the Buffalo Sabres, who are 1-3-0. If they can beat the Buffalo Sabres, the Sabres will exit this game 1-4, and the Penguins will improve to 3-2 and 0. And we're going to preview that in just a couple of minutes, the Penguins and Sabres. In just a few minutes, we will preview that game. But first, it's time for the play of the game. And due to time constraints, because I do not want to have this too long, we will not do the game pucks of the game. I'm going to save that for our Buffalo Sabres game. But again, if we don't get to that one, we will get to it in the course of other games. But what we're going to do right now, due to time constraints, because I don't want the segment to be a little bit longer here, we are going to go ahead and go to the play of the game. And then I'll reveal tonight's officials. And unfortunately, we don't have time to go over how the rest of the NHL went on a Monday night. But what we're going to do is I'll reveal the officials, and I will reveal the attendance at Center Bell Arena, or the Bell Center, as I will call it, the Bell Center, the site of today's game on Monday night, October 14th, 2024. And then we'll preview Buffalo at Pittsburgh. And speaking of Buffalo, Bill's postgame is coming up next. When we get out of here from our ice coverage, well, this game has officially reached the station in front of 21,105 fans in attendance in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, at the Bell Center. Referees were Gord Dwyer, G. Herbert, and your linesmen for this game, L.S. and Jonathan Deschamps. Jonathan Deschamps, L.S. and G. Herbert, along with Gord Dwyer, are the officials for the game tonight. Once again, the final score, Penguins 3, Penguins 6, Montreal 3, My play of the game is going to go, my play of the game tonight is going to go to Kevin Hayes. His second goal as a Penguin, second goal of the season, set the tone for the third period, and it also led to 2 goals later, a Penguins 6-3 win in Montreal on Canadian Thanksgiving, on the Thanksgiving holiday. The American Thanksgiving is coming up, and we've got a double trouble for you coming up as the Bills play the Titans and the Penguins play the Winnipeg Jets. But more on all of that another time and over the course of our Penguins post-game show. All right. Play of the game belongs to Kevin Hayes. That's it for the Pens and the Canadiens. Before we go, however, let's get into Buffalo at Pittsburgh. Buffalo at the Pens. That is our game. That is our game that we are focused on, and that's coming your way tomorrow night from PPG Paints Arena. It's expected that it will be Tristan Jarry versus Jukka-Pekka Luukkonen. We'll know all of that by the time the game goes down, as the Penguins prepare to host the Sabres after Lars Eller's 2-goal performance. And once again, we want to congratulate Evgeny Malkin getting 1 goal closer to the 500 per year goal milestone. You're almost there. You're almost there, Gino. You're almost there. 1 more goal, and it's 500 for your career, buddy. 1 more goal, and it's 500 for your career. Team comparison for Buffalo and Pittsburgh. At home, the Buffalo Sabres are 1-2. On the road, they are 0-1-0. They are also 1-2-0 at home. The Penguins 0-1-0 at home, looking to be 1-1-0 at home. Their away record, they are 2-1-0. Against the division, they are 0-1 at home. They're on a 1-game win streak, as is Buffalo. One streak is going to come to an end. Buffalo against the division, 1-0-0. And the game will be played at PPG Paints Arena tomorrow night. So until then, remind you of the last time these two teams played, which was January 6th, 2024. And the Buffalo Sabres defeated the Penguins 3-1 on January 6th, 2024. So it's a new season. What will our first endeavor with the Buffalo Sabres and the Penguins be? We're going to have to wait until tomorrow night's final score. They'll be back at it with Buffalo in January in 2025 when they play in Buffalo on January 17th, 2025. They'll wrap up in Buffalo on March 27th, 2025 as well. Head coaches for this game, for the Buffalo Sabres, it will be Lindy Ruff. And for Mike Sullivan, and for the Penguins, it's Mike Sullivan. Who's going to get the start? Sabres and Pens, we'll find out when the game has gone final. To remind you of the next time the Montreal Canadiens and the Penguins will see each other, well, they'll play at the start of November. Again, this one will be in Pittsburgh. And then the season series wraps up on December 12th at 7 p.m. back at Bell Center, or Center Bell Arena, as it was called as the location. But they're at PPG Paints Arena on November 2nd, 2024, when they'll meet again, and Pittsburgh will be looking to tie the season series. Montreal will be looking to tie the season series. Pittsburgh won Game 1 to the Montreal Canadiens. The final score, 6-3 Pens over the Canadiens. Now it's time to face Buffalo. Does Evgeny Malkin get 500 against Buffalo in front of the Penguins Nation? We find out the answer tomorrow night. But here on Sports for Beginners, Double Trouble rolls on as we get to recapping the Bills' 23-20 victory over the New York Jets. And we have some breaking news that we'll jump into off the jump of breaking down that game on the Week 6 edition of Bills Postgame. Be sure to stick around for that, Bills Mafia. As for the Penguins fans and Canadiens fans, really enjoy you coming in to check this out. That'll do it for Penguins Postgame. We'll be back with you tomorrow after Buffalo and Pittsburgh to break down the Sabres and the Penguins down at PPG Paints Arena. Coverage starts at the coverage of Radio Talk will start at 6:30 Eastern, maybe 6 o'clock Eastern, depending on what's on the radio on Wednesday at 6. But it will be right after the Mark Madden Show on WXDX FM Pittsburgh, an iHeart radio station, 105.9 DX. I look forward to listening to the call, however I can get it. And with that all being said, until next time, Penguins fans, we'll talk to you after the next Pens game. And as always, Elvis has just left the building. Let's go Pens! Pens and Sabres next time on Penguins Postgame. Good night, everybody. From Penguins Postgame, we're back with more on Double Trouble as we flip from the ice to the gridiron. But if you're catching this only for the ice content, we'll see you tomorrow night after Sabres and Pens. Let's go Pens! Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Thank you so much for checking in to Penguins postgame this season, Penguins fans. Your host of the Sports for Beginners podcast, Scott McGregor, here. I just wanted to let you guys know that it brings me great joy to bring you a show like the one we brought you last year, and it brings me even more joy with everything that has come out of it as well, as we try to navigate through quite a year with milestone after milestone in the month of October and the month of September. As mentioned again, my name is Scott McGregor, but if you have any questions, any concerns, any content you want aired on the program, please send me an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231 at gmail.com. Once again, that's sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231 at gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast and for listening to this episode of Penguins Postgame. We will see you next time right here on Sports for Beginners. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? you've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.